So here we are in Benalla, in the state of Victoria, and this is part of the Ned Kelly Touring route. Benalla was the scene of some of the activities of the Kelly gang, and they have a museum here which has quite a number of interesting artifacts. So if you're interested in the Kelly saga, this would be well worth visiting. The Benalla Historical Society Museum. So we're just looking at the outside of the museum when it's open. Their most prized possession is probably the sash that Ned Kelly was awarded for saving a young boy from drowning. And they have a ploughshare here similar to the ones used to make the Kelly armour. Apart from items from the Kelly story, it is also a costume museum. They've got a large array of women's dresses, etc. So it's also, if you're interested in that, worth visiting from that point of view. Now inside they have a tape running on a continuous loop, basically telling the story of Kelly and Glenrowan, etc. And then they have got quite a number of interesting articles on display. A lot of diagrams and photographs and letters and copies of letters. And they also then have the portable lockup that apparently Ned Kelly was once kept in, or kept in twice when he was in Greta. It's a little bit dark inside here for filming, but we have got some interesting artifacts in here. Joe Byrne was, of course, killed at the siege of Glenrowan when a bullet hit him in the femoral artery, and he would have bled out pretty quickly, even though he was wearing the famous armour. And after his death, he was taken to Benalla, and he was photographed against one of these doors. And there's the picture of the actual photographer taking the photograph of Joe being propped up against the police cell door. And there's some of the police involved in the action, and there's a picture of his grave in his line in Benalla Cemetery. This is the famous sash awarded to Ned Kelly when I think he was 11, and there's a red mark on the sash which is presumably a bloodstain because he was wearing this under his armour when he was shot and captured at Glenrowan. There's a Martini Henry carbine there, and some pictures of the policeman killed at Stringy Bark Creek. £8,000 reward. That must be an absolute fortune in 1878. So they've got a replica there of a suit of armour, not an original. Some of the originals are in the Victoria Police Museum, and I've made a separate video about that. So again, just another look inside. It's not a very large area, but there is a lot of information in the small area. I'm trying to get a better view of the sash because of the light inside the cell isn't very good, and that just gives you the story there of the sash. At one time, Benalla was the sort of centre of the police activities searching for the Kelly gang, and I believe they used this building, which is now the commercial hotel that's just around the corner from the museum. If you're visiting Benalla and then you're going on to Stringy Bark Creek, which of course is the location of the famous scene of the murder of the police officers, then on the way out of Benalla you can call in at the cemetery. Of the cemetery, the main area of the cemetery. But outside of the main area there is two graves which are interesting, and whether they've been placed outside deliberately outside of the consecrated ground, I'm not quite sure of that, but they're on the edge of the main area of the cemetery. So there's Martin Cherry, who was one of the hostages, and he unfortunately died in the shootout, in the crossfire between the police and the Kelly gang. And then further down on the same line is the grave of Joe Byrne. Which, as you can see, people are still leaving flowers here. So there we have Joe Byrne's grave. Of course, Dan Kelly and Steve Hart were also killed during the siege, Glenrowan, and of course Ned Kelly was captured. So all in all, an interesting place to visit. Part of the story of the Ned Kelly saga.